right, everybody, welcome into the very first Coach Holcomb Show, brought to you by Kia of Rainbow City and Gadsden. Coach, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself outside of football.
Well, I mean, there's not a bunch. There's not a whole lot to tell. I tell people all the time, like, I don't really have any hobbies. This kind of takes up so much time. Like, and I enjoy coaching football, but it takes up so much of my time that when I'm not coaching football, like I just like to hang out at the house with my family. And so, been married for going on a decade. Me and my wife, we met in college. She was a much better athlete than me when we were in college, and so she played volleyball at Shorter. And so we got a son. He'll be 9 here in September. And so he could care less really about sports. So he's into books, loves to read, always wants to make his own books and comics and stuff. Like, that's kind of what he's into. And so just being able to spend some time with him anytime we're not there. Now I do like to. I mean, I guess if I had a hobby, it would be like running or something like that. Like I'm telling you, 5 years ago, you'd have never heard me say that. Like, I would have never said that, but for whatever reason, like, I've kind of got into it, and it's, I mean, I've kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I seen you running down the road the other day close to the house. I thought something was after you.
Hey,
I said, well, he's just running for no reason.
It's got points. So I listen to podcasts. I'm a big podcast fan anyway, and so put the headphones in, turn on a podcast, go for a run. It kind of helps you just kind of clear your mind, and all the stress kind of goes away, and you can just run and be by yourself for a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, you have to be. And I've been around the program, a little bit this year, and you're usually up here. I know you stay very busy,
Yes.
But you've got it well structured. You're very well organized.
We have a bunch of good assistants. I mean, we got a bunch of good coaches. Like, they're just a bunch of solid guys, and so I think it makes it easier when you have a bunch of guys that are committed to the same cause that you're committed to, and so obviously you can't do it by yourself, and it don't matter who you are or where you are, you can't do it by yourself. You got to have a bunch of good people around you. So we're lucky enough that we got a bunch of good people around that are invested in the program and invested in our kids.
Definitely. Now getting back to football, you coached at your alma mater, Crossville, in 16 and 17. You were an assistant coach at Hoover for 2 years in 18 and 19, and then the offensive coordinator at Alpharetta, Georgia in 2020. Talk about some of the lessons that you learned on the field and off the field at those two stops.
So we'll start with Crossville. That was the second time that I'd been back home. And I got a chance to work with some pretty incredible coaches before I had the opportunity to go back there. But then when I got the opportunity to go back and be the head coach, you think you got all the answers, obviously, and then you get there and you're like, I don't know anything, right? I mean, you don't actually know until you get in there, and you gotta kind of learn on your own. But what I learned year one was that when you invest in kids and they believe in you and they know you believe in them, like, you can pretty much accomplish really anything you set your mind to accomplish. I mean, people look at it and they're like, well, you went 4 and 6. Like, it ain't very good. Like, no, it wasn't ideal, but I can tell you 4 and 6 to that group and to the group that we had and what we had coming back, felt like 9 and 1 to a lot of people. And then year two, we went into year two. And I'll be honest with you, like, we grinded our kids up, like, from spring ball into the summer. I mean, we went to Montgomery that summer and played in the 7-on-7. We traveled to Russellville, played in the 7-on-7. We went to Sylvania and played in 7-on-7s. We were there 4 mornings. I mean, we were there 4 days a week from June and July, and that was something that I just think we wasn't conditioned for. Started out really good. I mean, started out 4-0. For the first time in a long time, found a way to beat some teams that we probably shouldn't have beat, obviously, and then went to Sylvania, lost a tough one to Sylvania, and then the following week lost our kicker. So I say he was our kicker, but he was also the leading receiver after the Sylvania game. Like, he was the leading receiver in the Sylvania game, and come back and he tears his ACL. And we just got hammered by injuries later in the year. And I think for me, that was a learning that helped me understand that sometimes, like, as much as you just want to, hey, like, we got to grind, like, we got to work, like, you got to take care of your kids too. And I didn't do a good enough job taking care of them, and I think that showed up late, and it ended up coming back to get us. Even though, like, we found a way to make the playoffs, we went to Briarwood that year with 27 healthy kids in 5A football against a team who ended up playing for a state title, and like we didn't do a great job giving our kids an opportunity. I mean, because we were banged up, and so I knew about week 7, week 8 that I didn't have all the answers, and I needed to figure out how to find the answers. And I didn't know what that was. I thought that was going to be like going to some clinics, talking to some guys that you value and you trust, and ended up getting an opportunity to go to Hoover. Prayed about it, talked to my wife about it, and we had just bought a house in Boaz. Like, it wasn't far from me. It was actually like right in between Crossville and Boaz. And so we moved in April 4th, and I got offered the Hoover job April 19th. And so I was like, hey, like, what do you think? She was like, I mean, you got that. I mean, it's
a big opportunity.
It's Hoover, And so I knew I wanted to grow as a coach. And so getting a chance to go learn from Coach Niblett was, I'll never be able to put a price tag on that, obviously. I mean, I've learned so much from him and still learn stuff from him. Like, he still gives me opportunities. I talk to him, still, ask him questions, still bounce ideas off of him still. And just the relationship that I have with him is something that I really value, obviously, because, I mean, in my opinion, he's the best that's ever done it in this state. I mean, the way that what I learned from him was, don't necessarily matter how you feel that day, like, it's about the standard. And regardless of how you feel, there's a standard in the program, and you got to live up to the standard, and then you got to keep raising the standard. And so it has nothing to do with your feelings. Like, that's the standard. You got to play at that standard. And then, obviously, going there gave me the opportunity to meet and build a relationship with Coach Curvin. And then when Coach Curvin got the opportunity at Alpharetta to be the head coach at Alpharetta, it was a program who had been perennially a 6A program, but was having an opportunity to move up and play 7A football. And, we talk about sharpening our edge all the time. Well, hey, here's a great opportunity to figure out how good you are as a ball coach. I mean, we played Milton, played North Cobb, we played Collins Hill twice, played Cherokee. Like, I can't tell you how many really good football players we played against last year, And so it was an incredible chance to go and figure out, like, hey, does what we do work? Does it work outside of Hoover? Like, is what we do, can it work, based off how you teach it? Is it going to work? And I think going over there and obviously being with Coach Curvin and seeing the way he teaches things helped me to be a better coach, and not necessarily like what we do, like, because it really ain't. I mean, everybody runs some type of zone, some type of gap, some type of drive concept. Everybody plays some type of front, even, odd, whatever. But it's about how you teach it, and can you teach your kids that how they do what they do is more important than what you're doing, and having that opportunity to go and be able to teach our offense to a group of kids was pretty important to me. And I was happy. Like, Coach Curvin's one of my best friends in the world. Still talk to him regularly, and so I love those kids over there. But I mean, being a head coach is something that I've always wanted to do. And the reason I left Crossville to go to Hoover was to figure out a way, like, to be a better head coach, and had the opportunity to come be a head coach, and it's been a blessing so far. I love everything about this place.
I think that says a lot about you as a person, because when you're in that position, a lot of people want to say, kind of force themselves into saying, hey, I do have all the answers. But being able to take a step back and say, hey, I need to learn a little bit more, I think that says a lot about
It's
you.
hard. I mean, it's hard. Like, people be the first people to tell you, like, I love me some me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I ain't no doubt. I mean, I think everybody at some point in time, like, loves himself, And it was a big pill to swallow. There ain't no doubt. Like, knowing, like, looking yourself in the mirror and being like, hey, I ain't got no answers here. You got to figure it out. So, but I mean, my wife keeps me pretty humble.
Coaches' wives are a different breed.
Yeah, she's special. There ain't no doubt about that. Like, I mean, there's nobody else in the world that could put up with me on a daily basis. That's for sure. And so she finds a way to do it. And most of the time, like, she'll be the first one to tell you, like, she's like a single mom until about December. And then I kind of come back around, and so, but she understands, she loves it. Obviously right now it's just a weird, you can't really have the kids over as much as you want to have them over with COVID and everything else. And like that takes a little bit of the fun out of it. I mean, because obviously being able to build relationships with the kids that you got is one of the greatest parts of being a coach. And having them be able to come over to your house and know your family and your family becoming their family and theirs becoming yours, and them becoming part of your family. Like that's one of the best parts about being a coach. And when you can't do that, obviously it kind of takes a little bit away from it.
Coach, do you enjoy the wins more or hate the losses more?
This is bad to say. Like, I really hate the losses more. I mean, I love winning, but I really, really despise losing.
What's the worst loss you've had?
All right, the worst. There's two answers to this question. As an assistant coach and as a head coach. So the worst loss that I ever had as a head coach was against Boaz, my second year at Crossville. So we're 4-1. Got jumped out on Boaz early, had a big lead going into the half, and then we could not convert an extra point. Like I told you, our kicker tore his ACL, and he was money. Extra points, he was good. And we found a way, we scored 7 touchdowns and missed all 7 extra points. And so, again, that comes back to me as, hey, well, why didn't you find a kicker, going into the week? And so that was one thing that we worked on finding a kicker, but to be honest with you, we practiced off campus. And so we had to travel to a little pit. It was like a little grassy area that we found behind the First Baptist Church over there in Crossville. And we didn't have any field goals, so we didn't have any over there. And so we thought, we was like, all right, we got some guys, that can kick. So Wednesday, Thursday, we're out there kicking on the game field. And we was like, oh yeah, we'll be all right. And then we got into the game, it was like, we are not all right. And so ended up losing that game. It was a tight one. We lost it. They converted a 4th down. They sprinted out to our sideline, ran a comeback to our sideline, ended up converting 4th down and then scoring the next play. And I'll never forget that loss. And then as an assistant coach was my first year at Hoover in the semis. We're playing Thompson. We block a punt in the 3rd quarter, scoop and score. And let's go. About to get a chance to play for a state title. I'll never forget. We are up 11. We're up 11 with 7.5 to play. And we have the ball. And we end up picking up 7. Like, they had shanked the punt. We pick up 7. And I think that put us 2nd and 3 from about, it's like the 34, the plus 34 going in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to punch this thing in. And I remember, we talked about this after it was over. Like, I remember when they shanked the punt, like, I remember looking up at the scoreboard, seeing the score, and like in my mind, I was like, we're about to play for a state title. And then I remember like split second having to hey, we got to finish. Like having like split second, like you can't think about it. We got to finish right here. And we didn't. And they ended up putting together 2 really good drives. Some crazy stuff happened. We had a corner and a safety like converge on a ball, and like they threw a post up and ended up our 2 guys like hits the receiver and kind of presses the ball into him to catch it, right? And so it was one of those things, like it was raining so hard, our safety breaks on one and is about to pick 6 it. And it just kind of goes through his hands right there. It's just one of them, like, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Ended up losing that one. That was a heartbreaker, obviously. I'll never forget that, And so I guess those 2 would be the 2 worst losses that I could remember.
What's your best win so far?
The next one.
Absolutely. We've done several interviews. Well, we've done a lot of interviews, but I've noticed a trend that coaches, when you ask them about losses, they can tell you the hash, they can tell you the time, the score, everything. And then when it comes to the wins, it's kind of vague.
Yeah, we're bad that way. Bad. Those the losses tend to stick out. Now, I bet if you ask guys about state championship wins, those probably stick out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would.
So if we could find a way to get one of them, like that win might stand out. I'll probably remember all that aspects if that were to happen.
What are a few words that you would like to have your team be described as?
Relentless, number one. And I think they are. This week with the weather, it's not ideal. We don't have an indoor. We don't have anything like that. So we've got to find ways to manufacture good reps. But I don't really worry about the level of intensity that our guys are going to play with. Like, this bunch cares about each other enough that every snap what you're going to get out of them. Like, without a shadow of a doubt what you're going to get out of them when the ball snaps. And that's an awesome feeling as a coach to know, hey, your guys are going to play hard, and so, because it don't always happen. The other thing is physical. We talked about this earlier. Like, our guys, I know our guys are going to be physical. They hang their hat on being physical because, we may not have the most athletic bunch of guys as a collective whole. Now, we've got some really good athletes. I really feel like we've got some good athletes on our team, but as a collective whole, we're probably going to see teams that are more athletic than us. But our kids are going to hang their hats on being physical. But offensively, I think our guys in the box do a great job of being physical. I think our running backs run physical. I think our receivers try to block physically on the perimeter. And I think those two, and then we talk all the time about being uncommon. One thing that this is probably, people think I'm an idiot, but after the loss, when we got beat by Lincoln, that was it was a tough loss. Like, you come out and you got all this momentum and you feel good about it, and you score first, and your defense is playing super tough, and you get inside the red zone, 5 times, and inside the 10 3 times, and you get 6 points. Like, I didn't do a very good job getting our guys ready to play that week, and so it's tough, and guys are emotional, but then before I left here, I just walked into the locker room, and our guys had cleaned up everything in the locker room. Like, everything's clean. They've swept. They've taken the garbage out. Their stuff's hanging up the way it's supposed to be hanging up. Their jerseys are turned in right side out in the right bin. The pants are right side out in the right bin. Their socks are turned in the right way. And, that's a small thing, but I just feel like it says a lot about where our guys are headed. I really do. I mean, it's easy to clean up a locker room after a win. It's a little tougher to do it after a loss.
Last week, you were able, big rival game against Hokes Bluff, come away with a 31-0 win. You seem to have found the offense. I could see it clicking, and I think they brought the same intensity that they brought against Lincoln on defense. But you were able to get some points on the board. Talk about that win. Congratulations, that's your first win here at Southside.
Yeah. So, defensively, obviously, Coach Bowen did a great job getting those guys ready to play. Our defensive staff does a great job. They spend a lot of time, on the plan, getting our guys ready to play, making sure we get the look we're supposed to get throughout the week. And so we had our guys ready to play, and our guys went out and executed. Offensively, we put up some points. There's no doubt about that. 31 was, we put some points up, but when you look back at it, I really felt like we didn't do a great job sustaining drives. And the drives that we did sustain, we fumbled at the goal line. We sustained a drive and fumbled at the goal line. Had another drive, kind of stall out, but Abdullah kind of bailed us out with a 42-yarder that I believe would have probably been good from 60. It looked like it had been good from 60.
Yeah, it was a good one.
He had a great night, had another one, had a penalty, had a touchdown call back, had a punt return, penalty, touchdown call back. So there's a lot of things that we had to clean up. I felt like that big play-wise, explosive plays, we love explosive plays. And, I felt like all of our touchdowns came off of explosive plays, and we just didn't do a great job of sustaining drives the way I felt like we need to do to sustain drives, because we're just not going to get those plays every night. And when you do, you got to execute them, and we did a good job of executing the plays that we got. But I still think there's a lot of room for improvement offensively when it comes to making sure that we execute our job on every single play so we can sustain drives, when we get now into our region schedule, So, but ultimately, we've had 5 turnovers. Our defense has got us 5 takeaways in 2 games. We blocked 2 punts. It's pretty good. Like, I feel really good about our special teams, about our defense. We're still trying to figure it out offensively. It's a lot of stuff for our guys. Like, I don't, we ask them to do a lot. We ask them to remember a lot. We ask them to take in a lot of information, and we put a bunch of pressure on Gage to be able to take in the information and process it like that.
I sat through a slideshow. It is a lot of information. I can confirm that. This week, traveling to Pell City. We talked. They're starting a lot of sophomores, but like you said, then again, so are we.
Yeah, ain't no doubt. I think they're super athletic. Obviously, defensively up front, they're physical. They're physical. They're going to get after you in the box. I think their box is one of the best boxes defensively that we'll see, and I think their back end's pretty explosive and pretty athletic. They rotate some guys back there. They've got some guys that can go both ways, obviously. But their secondary is long, athletic. They can all run. They've got good ball skills. And then they've got an inside backer, number 11. I think it's a Sisson kid that can play. He's downhill. He plays sideline to sideline. I think he plays a little bit of sniffer too on offense. And so they're pretty relentless too. Obviously they're coming off a tough matchup, against Leeds, and so they're going to be hungry for a win. Everybody always says that your greatest improvements from week 1 to week 2. Well, we had that opportunity last week, and they're getting that opportunity this week. And so we'll see if we can find a way to match, their level of improvement with our level of improvement, because we felt like we had a lot of things to improve on from last week too.
You do warm-ups a little bit differently. And I want to ask you this. So the team comes out in what you call activation shirts. Mm-hmm. And then they come back in, get the pads on, and then they come back. They go back out and warm up. Now, when the team is out there doing the activation shirts, what you're wearing at that moment in time, is that what you're wearing during the game?
No.
Okay, so you come back in and make a change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Now, I don't know who mentored who.
I know who mentored who.
But do you want to share your conversation, or is that something you'd like to keep?
Oh, well, like I said, when I had the opportunity to go to Hoover, I wanted to go learn from the best, And so whether it's the way you run a program or your style, like, he's the best, And people are going to hate on him because, those people can't wear those type of pants, and that's cool. You ain't got to like them. I don't really care if you like them. They're for me. I ain't asking you to wear,
Before the Lincoln game, you were telling me about him asking, and I looked down at your shoes. You said, this ain't what I'm wearing.
No.
I still got to change them, mate.
Yeah. Listen, when I got a chance to go over there, and then when you get a chance to leave, I think, like the guys that you work for and the guys you have an opportunity to learn from, like, you want them to be proud of what the product that you put out on the field, obviously. You want them to be proud of you and like what you've done and what you can accomplish and how hard you get your kids to play and really everything about it, And so what we wear, people make fun of, That's that they do. Like people make fun of kind of what we wear all the time, but the fact that like our kids know that, kind of gives our kids a little bit of an edge, because they know we don't care what other people think about it, And so it just gives them, like, even sometimes they'll ask, like, hey, like, man, they're gonna clown on you for that. I'm like, yeah, it's all right. It is what it is. I ain't worried about, I ain't worried about it.
But when you come out there on the field, I said, hey, Coach, be proud.
Yeah, hey, I think he was. I think he was. Obviously, like, had when the picture came out pregame last week, I had a guy text me and he was like, hey, what joggers are those? Like, that's a good. That's fine. You know what?
That's
big time. Like,
game, recognized game.
No doubt.
Your pregame speeches. Mm-hmm. Is that all you? Is that a little bit of one coach, a little bit of another coach. Where do you get the inspiration for your? And I don't know that it's necessarily a speech. It's just you pouring out what your thoughts are, pouring out your heart to the team. Talk about that because, hey, I can go ahead and tell you this. I've been there for both of them. I was ready to go out on the field the other night.
I think some of it comes from just like what you see from your kids throughout the week, and like you just kind of take down some notes. Like, hey, you might want to mention this, or somebody sliding them here, or somebody don't respect them there, or sometimes it's just like, Coach Chappell, our baseball coach, is the one who shared the story about the mule with me. All right, I got a story for you. All right, feel like it was pretty, kind of just hit me. Sir. Right, somebody told me the story. I felt like it applied to us. There's a guy, right? He's driving down the road. Somehow it goes into a ditch. So his truck goes into a ditch, right? This old farmer comes up. He sees it. Captain, let's go. Old farmer comes up and sees it. He said, hey man, you help me out right here. He said, oh yeah, I got an old mule. Old mule's name's Andy. He'll get you out. He can pull anything out. The man was like, hey, let's ball out. All right. Okay. So he brings the old mule out. He said, hey man, this thing's stuck now. Old mule comes hobbling up. He said, hey man, this thing's stuck. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it done. He's all right. Andy be all right. Hooks him up to the truck. All of a sudden, the old farmer says, pull Henry, pull James, pull John, pull Ben, pull Andy. Old mule pulled it right out the ditch. Guy in the truck looked at him and said, how do you do that? He said, let me tell you something about Andy. He said, Andy's blind. Andy don't know. But if Andy thinks he's pulling with somebody else, he'll pull with all he's got. He said he didn't know he wasn't pulling with nobody else. He said he felt like he had his brothers around him. And if he's got his brothers around him, he'll pull anything out. You got me? From last week.
That was a really good story.
I just felt like that, I don't know. It's just a weird feeling. Like I heard the story and I was like, our kids need to hear that. And I felt like it fit.
It did.
We talk about, being a brother and having guys with you and having your back. And because we were coming off a game where, it would have been easy for somebody to point fingers. Well, defense is really good and offense is terrible, right? And I think one thing about our kids that is a little bit different, especially against Lincoln, when the offense was coming off the field and we're struggling, like defense wasn't over there like pointing fingers. Like defense was like, hey, we got you. Like we got your back. Let's go. All right, we're going to get a stop right here. Like, let's go. And then when we got the ball, obviously like, hey, go punch one in right here. Like they were our biggest supporters, and it would have been easy for them playing the way they're playing to, point the finger a little bit at how bad the offense struggled week 0, obviously. And they never did, and I think that's special. I think that's a sign of how strong the relationships are with the guys on our team, which is what we tried to build from day one. And the story about the mule just kind of reiterated the fact that, when you feel like you got somebody there with you, pulling with you, like you can accomplish whatever you need to accomplish. And so Coach Chappell kind of shared that one with me, and it just fit. It just fit. And I felt like week 0, I felt like the message was, I always want to make it about them, like because it's easy for people to kind of make it about us as coaches because we're new, and they've been here. But the bottom line is like we're just here as somebody to guide the kids. Like we just got them. Like we ain't do none of the work. Like we ain't do none of the hard stuff. Like they did it. They do it. And if something changes, it ain't because we come in and did something special. It's because that we just gave them the opportunity to change it on their own. And they believed in it and they invested in it and they changed it. And so I think more than anything, like we just want to empower our kids and give them some type of word of inspiration to let them know how much we believe in them. And I think that's, basically you just, stuff that you see throughout the week and you're like, you kind of make a little mental note right there. Like, probably need to mention this pregame, probably need to hit on this right here. Something that's good, something that's negative maybe. And I think that you just kind of build it off that.
And we're going to end it with how you end your speeches. Let's put the ball down
Let's play.
and let's play.
Ain't no
That's,
doubt.
at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
It is. And our kids believe that too.
Well, Coach, I sure do appreciate it. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
sitting in with us. Good luck this week against Pell City, and looking forward to talking with you in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.